I remember the exact moment I decided to disappear. It wasn't a dramatic revelation, no shouting, no throwing things. It was quiet, too quiet. I stood in the middle of our kitchen, staring at the gleaming marble countertop, the faint smell of her perfume still lingering in the air, and I knew I couldn't stay. I walked out, locking the door behind me like it was just another day. But this wasn't just another day. It was the end of my life as I knew it. Emily and I had been married for 8 years. A seemingly perfect couple, at least, that's what everyone thought. The truth was, something had been off for months. The late-night work meetings. The way she clung to her phone like it was oxygen. The shift in how she touched me, like I was an obligation, not a desire. I should have confronted her sooner. Should have demanded the truth before I found it myself. But I didn't. I let the doubts grow, let the weight of suspicion settle over me like a storm cloud. And then, on a night like any other, I found the proof. It was a text. Just one. A single message flashing across her screen while she was in the shower. Can't wait to see you again. Last night was unforgettable. I felt my stomach drop. The room spun. My hand shook as I picked up her phone, scrolling through months of messages, each one worse than the last. And there it was, the gut punch. A picture. Not just any picture. A picture of her in our bed, with someone else. I didn't say a word. Didn't wake her up. Didn't scream or demand an explanation. I just stopped feeling. By the time the sun rose, I had a plan. I drained our joint accounts. Not out of revenge, but because I refused to fund her betrayal. I disconnected my phone, cleared out my things. And then, I walked away. By the time Emily came home that evening, the house was empty. No furniture, no clothes, no trace of the life we had built. Just a single envelope on the counter, with nothing inside but a copy of the text she never meant for me to see. I was gone. Weeks later, she found me. And when she did, the first thing she said was, I hadn't expected her to find me so soon. I had taken every precaution, new accounts, a prepaid phone, no contact with mutual friends. I had left no breadcrumbs, no digital footprint, nothing. But somehow, Emily still managed to track me down. I was staying in a small rental house on the outskirts of a town where no one knew me. It wasn't much, barely furnished, just a mattress on the floor, a few basic kitchen items, and my laptop. I wasn't living. I was existing, floating in a strange limbo between my old life and whatever came next. I told myself I needed time to think, to process, to decide who I was without her. But deep down, I knew I was just hiding. It was late in the afternoon when I heard the knock. At first, I ignored it. No one was supposed to know I was here. But then came a second knock, more urgent. And then a voice. Are you seriously doing this to me? My chest tightened. I knew that voice. Even after everything, even after the betrayal, hearing it still made my stomach twist. I stayed silent. Maybe she'd think she got the wrong house. Maybe she'd leave. Then, her voice broke. Please. I don't know what made me do it, curiosity, weakness, or just a need to see her face one last time, but I opened the door. Emily stood there, looking nothing like the woman I had walked away from. Her usually perfect hair was a mess, dark circles hung under her eyes, and she had that wild, desperate look of someone who had lost control of the game. For a split second, I felt something close to pity. But then I remembered why I was here. She exhaled sharply when she saw me, her eyes scanning me like she couldn't believe I was real. You actually did it, she whispered. You really left. I leaned against the doorframe, keeping my expression blank. What did you expect? Emily's lips parted, but no words came out. She glanced past me into the near-empty house, her eyes flicking to the mattress on the floor. She let out a shaky laugh. So, this is where you've been? I didn't answer. She swallowed hard. You didn't have to do this. I tilted my head, studying her. Didn't have to do what? Leave? Or make sure you felt it? Her face twisted, and for the first time, I saw something in her expression that I wasn't prepared for. Regret. Real regret. Not the kind that comes from getting caught, but the kind that sinks into your bones and stays there. You drained our accounts, she said quietly. I nodded. I didn't want you spending my money on him. Her breath hitched. I deserve that. A small, bitter smile played on my lips. Yeah, you do. She shifted her weight, arms wrapping around herself. I know I have no right to ask this, but can we talk? I should have said no. I should have shut the door in her face. But instead, I stepped aside and let her in. Because despite everything, I needed answers, too. As Emily stepped inside, I felt an overwhelming sense of unease. It was strange, seeing her in this small, unfamiliar space. She didn't belong here. Not anymore. The woman who once dictated the flow of my life, who filled every corner of our shared home with her presence, now stood like a stranger in a place that wasn't meant for her. She took a slow, deliberate look around. The bare walls, the sparse furniture. If she had expected me to be drowning in luxury, she was sorely mistaken. This was survival, not comfort. You really left everything, she murmured, her fingers trailing along the edge of the only chair in the room. I sat on the mattress, arms crossed. Everything but my dignity. She flinched, but I didn't care. I wasn't here to soften the blow for her. I needed her to feel it, to understand the weight of what she had done. She sighed, rubbing her temples like she was trying to piece together the right words. Look, I know I can't fix this. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I need you to hear me out. I raised an eyebrow. You had months to come clean, Emily. But instead, you kept lying. You kept sneaking around. Why should I listen now? She hesitated, her fingers twitching at her sides. Because I made a mistake. I laughed, the sound bitter and hollow. A mistake. I leaned forward, my voice low but firm. No, Emily. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or saying something in anger. What you did, that was a choice. Repeatedly. Over and over again. And you didn't stop until I found out. Her eyes welled up, and for a second, I saw something flicker in them. Shame? Guilt? Maybe just regret that she was standing here, humiliated, instead of wrapped up in the fantasy world she had built. She swallowed hard. I thought you didn't love me anymore. I blinked, stunned by the sheer audacity of her words. You thought I didn't love you, so your solution was to find someone else? That's your defense? She shifted uncomfortably. It's not a defense. It's the truth. You were distant. You stopped looking at me the way you used to. I clenched my jaw. And did it ever cross your mind to talk to me? To tell me how you felt? She opened her mouth, then closed it, shaking her head. I don't know. I was scared. I exhaled sharply, running a hand down my face. Scared of what? That I'd try to fix things? That we'd actually have to face our problems instead of you running off to someone else? She didn't answer. And that silence was all I needed. I stood up, pacing the room, my heart pounding. You know what the worst part is? I actually believed we were solid. Even when things felt off, I convinced myself it was just a phase, that we'd get through it. I never once thought I cut myself off, shaking my head. I was a fool. Emily took a step forward, hesitant. You weren't a fool. I was. I ruined everything. And now, I have nothing. I let out a dry chuckle. Welcome to the club. She wrapped her arms around herself, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. I don't expect you to take me back. I don't even expect you to talk to me after this. But I needed to see you to tell you that I'm sorry. She hesitated, biting her lip. That I miss you. I stared at her for a long moment, waiting to feel something. Anger. Sadness. Nostalgia. But all I felt was exhaustion. Emily, I said finally, my voice firm, you don't miss me. You miss what I gave you. Stability. Security. Someone who would never do to you what you did to me. She didn't deny it. And that told me everything I needed to know. But as much as I wanted to slam the door on this chapter of my life, I wasn't ready to walk away just yet. Not until I got every answer I came for. Because something still didn't add up. And I intended to find out exactly what she wasn't telling me. The weight of the moment settled between us, thick and suffocating. Emily stood there, looking lost in a way I had never seen before. She had always been composed, the kind of woman who never let a single hair fall out of place. But now she looked like someone who had realized too late that they were standing on the edge of a crumbling cliff. I should have told her to leave. I should have turned my back and let her walk out of that door for good. But something about the way she hesitated, the way she fidgeted like she was holding something back, made me pause. You're not telling me everything, I said, folding my arms. Her eyes flickered with something. Fear? Guilt? I couldn't tell. She swallowed hard, then looked away, her hands gripping the hem of her sweater like she needed something to hold on to. I didn't come here to lie to you, she whispered. Then don't, I shot back. You found me. You wanted to talk. So talk. Why now? Why, after weeks of silence, did you suddenly need to track me down? She hesitated again, her lips pressing into a thin line. It was like she was waging a silent war with herself, deciding how much she was willing to admit. And then, just when I thought she'd dodged the question altogether, she exhaled sharply and met my gaze. Because he left me, she said. I blinked, stunned by the bluntness of it. What? She let out a humorless laugh, shaking her head. The one I cheated with. He left. He said it was never supposed to be serious, that I read too much into it. He blocked my number, moved on like I was nothing. I studied her, waiting for the usual wave of anger to hit me. But it didn't. Instead, all I felt was a strange, hollow amusement. So, let me get this straight, I said slowly. You threw away our marriage. You betrayed me, humiliated me. And now, because your affair didn't turn into some fairy tale romance, you're standing in front of me expecting what? Sympathy. Emily flinched like I had slapped her. No, that's not. She stopped, exhaling through her nose. I don't know where else to go. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. That's rich. You had a home. You had a husband who would have done anything for you. And you threw it away. Now, because your backup plan fell through, suddenly I'm supposed to care. She shook her head, stepping forward. I know I don't deserve anything from you. I know that. But I swear, this isn't just about him leaving. It's more than that. Things have gotten complicated. I narrowed my eyes. Complicated how? She hesitated again, and for the first time since she walked through that door, I saw real fear in her expression. Someone's been following me, she admitted quietly. A chill ran down my spine. What? She bit her lip, glancing toward the window like she expected someone to be watching. I don't know who they are. But ever since he left, I've felt watched. I keep seeing the same car outside my apartment. I get these weird phone calls, no one speaks, just silence on the other end. And then, a few days ago, I came home, and my door was unlocked. Nothing was taken, but... She trailed off, her arms wrapping around herself. I don't feel safe. I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. A part of me wanted to believe she was lying, that this was just another manipulation, another desperate attempt to reel me back in. But another part of me, one I hated, felt something else. Concern. Despite everything, despite the betrayal, I didn't want her to be in danger. You think this has something to do with the guy? I asked. She nodded. I don't know, but I think so. He wasn't who I thought he was. And now, I think I made a mistake, bigger than just cheating. I think I got involved with someone I shouldn't have. A sinking feeling settled in my gut. This wasn't just about a broken marriage anymore. Something else was going on. And whether I liked it or not, I was about to find out exactly what Emily had gotten herself into. Emily's words hung in the air, thick with tension. I studied her, trying to decide if this was just another manipulation or if, for once, she was telling the truth. She looked genuinely shaken, but then again, she had fooled me before. I exhaled slowly, running a hand through my hair. So let me get this straight. You cheated, left, got dumped, and now someone's following you. And I'm supposed to do what, exactly? She flinched, but I wasn't going to make this easy for her. I had spent weeks trying to erase her from my life, and now she was dragging me back in, just because she suddenly needed me. Emily licked her lips, looking down at the floor. I don't know. I didn't know where else to go. I thought maybe, she hesitated, her voice catching. I scoffed. You thought maybe I'd play knight in shining armor again? That I'd forget what you did because suddenly, you need saving. Her eyes snapped up, filled with something between guilt and desperation. No, that's not what she stopped, shaking her head. Look, I know I messed up. I know I have no right to ask you for anything. But I'm scared, and I didn't know who else to turn to. I wanted to tell her it wasn't my problem. That whatever mess she had gotten herself into, she needed to deal with it alone. But the way she kept glancing toward the window, her fingers twitching like she was waiting for someone to show up, made my stomach twist. I sighed. Tell me everything. She hesitated, then nodded, sinking onto the mattress. She wrung her hands together, taking a deep breath before speaking. It started about a week after you left. At first, it was little things, feeling like someone was watching me, my apartment door being unlocked when I swore I locked it. Then I started getting phone calls, always from an unknown number. No one spoke, but I could hear breathing on the other end. She swallowed hard. And then, there was the note. My brow furrowed. What note? She reached into her purse, pulling out a folded piece of paper. Her hands trembled as she handed it to me. I unfolded it carefully, my pulse quickening as I read the words scrawled in jagged handwriting. You made a mistake. Now you pay. A cold chill ran down my spine. I glanced up at her. Who do you think sent this? She bit her lip, shaking her head. I don't know, but I think it has something to do with him. The guy you cheated with? I asked, my voice tight. She nodded. After he left, I started asking questions. He told me he was single, but I don't think that was true. I think he was involved with someone else. Someone dangerous. I clenched my jaw. And now that he's gone, they're coming after you. Emily shuddered. I don't know. Maybe. I don't feel safe. I stared at the note, my mind racing. Everything in me screamed to walk away. This wasn't my problem. She had made her bed, and now she had to lie in it. But at the same time, something didn't sit right. If this was just about the affair, why did it feel like something bigger? I let out a slow breath, folding the note and handing it back to her. Where are you staying now? She hesitated. A motel. But I keep seeing the same car outside. I don't know if it's just paranoia, but I held up a hand. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to stay here tonight. Her eyes widened. What? I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose. Just for tonight. I'm not forgiving you, Emily. I'm not even sure I believe you. But if what you're saying is true, you're not safe out there. We'll figure out what's going on, and then you're on your own. She swallowed hard, nodding. Okay. I stood, grabbing my keys. I'm going to pick up a few things. Lock the door behind me, and don't open it for anyone. She nodded again, and I stepped outside, my mind still spinning. I should have left her to deal with this alone. But something told me that whatever was happening wasn't just about her. And I intended to find out exactly what was going on. Emily sat across from me, her fingers twisting together, a nervous habit I hadn't seen in years. The room felt impossibly small, as if the weight of our shared history was pressing against the walls. The reality of the situation was starting to sink in. She wasn't just here to beg for forgiveness or rekindle something that was long gone. She was afraid. And whether I wanted to admit it or not, some part of me still cared enough to listen. I exhaled slowly. Tell me everything. No more holding back. She nodded, swallowing hard before speaking. I met him at work. At first, it was nothing, just harmless conversations, jokes, talking about our days. I thought I was just enjoying the attention. But then, it became more. He was charming, smooth, said all the right things, made me feel like I was someone else. She hesitated, looking away. I know that doesn't excuse anything. I leaned back, arms crossed. No, it doesn't. But that's not why we're here. You said things got complicated after he left. What happened? She sighed, rubbing her temples. I tried to reach him after you left. At first, I just wanted answers, but the more I looked into him, the less sense things made. He told me he worked in finance, but when I asked around, no one knew anything about him. No records, no social media, nothing. Like he didn't exist. A chill ran down my spine. And you didn't think that was suspicious? I did, she admitted. That's why I started asking questions. And that's when things got weird. I frowned. Weird how? She hesitated again before reaching into her purse and pulling out a crumpled piece of paper. I got this 2 days ago. I took the note from her, unfolding it carefully. The handwriting was jagged, hurried, but the message was clear. Let it go. My stomach tightened. Where did you find this? It was slipped under my motel door. She shuddered. I thought it was just my paranoia at first. But then I started noticing things. Like how I kept seeing the same car parked outside. How my door was unlocked when I came home, even though I knew I had locked it. And the phone calls, always from an unknown number. No one ever spoke. Just silence. I rubbed my jaw, processing everything. And you came to me because... She looked at me, her eyes pleading. Because I don't know who else to trust. I wanted to tell her she had burned that bridge. That she had no right to come to me after everything she had done. But instead, I let out a slow breath, my mind shifting into problem-solving mode. Okay, I said finally. Here's what we're going to do. The air outside was thick with humidity as I paced the small living room, running through our options. Emily sat on the edge of the mattress, watching me with a mix of exhaustion and anxiety. This wasn't just about a broken marriage anymore. This was about figuring out what she had gotten herself into and how to get her out of it. We need to be smart about this, I said finally. If someone is watching you, we can't panic. We need to think logically. She nodded slowly. What do you suggest? I sat down across from her, lacing my fingers together. First, you need to stop staying at that motel. If someone knows where you are, you're not safe there. Her brows furrowed. But where else can I go? I hesitated before answering. You can stay here. Just for now. Until we figure out what's going on. Her lips parted slightly in shock. You'd let me stay? I sighed, rubbing a hand over my face. Don't read too much into it. This isn't about us. This is about making sure you're safe long enough to deal with this situation. She swallowed hard, nodding. Okay, thank you. I leaned back, exhaling. Second, you need to gather every bit of information you have on this guy. Anything you can remember, conversations, places he took you, anything odd he said. If he really was hiding something, we need to know what it was. Emily took a deep breath. I can try, but I don't know how much I'll remember. Try harder, I said firmly. Because whoever left that note doesn't want you digging. Which means you were onto something, whether you realized it or not. She paled slightly at that, but she nodded. For the next hour, we went through every detail she could recall. Places he had taken her, names he had mentioned, even small things that hadn't seemed important at the time. I jotted everything down, my mind piecing together a puzzle I didn't fully understand yet. When we were finally done, I sat back, staring at the notes in front of me. There was something here, I just didn't know what yet. Emily let out a shaky breath. So what now? I looked at her, my mind already forming the next step. Now, I said, we figure out how to end this. The next morning, I made the call. Not to a private investigator, not to some shady contact. I called the police. Emily watched from across the room, biting her lip nervously as I explained the situation. The notes, the unlocked doors, the fact that she had unknowingly gotten involved with a man who might not have been who he claimed to be. The officer on the other end listened carefully, asked a few questions, and then told me to bring Emily in to file a formal report. She hesitated when I relayed the message. Are you sure this is the right move? I gave her a long, measured look. It's the only move. You need to stop running. She nodded, and for the first time since she had shown up at my door, I saw something shift in her expression, relief. Maybe she had finally realized she didn't have to do this alone. We drove to the police station in silence. She filed the report, handed over the notes, gave them every detail she could remember. The officers took it seriously, promising to look into it. By the time we left, Emily looked lighter, like she had finally stopped carrying the weight of her mistakes on her own. As we stood outside the station, she turned to me. I don't know how to thank you. I let out a small, tired laugh. Just don't make the same mistakes again. She nodded, swallowing hard. I won't. I glanced at the street, the sun breaking through the clouds. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was standing at the edge of something new, something better. Emily had her own path to walk now, and so did I. I turned to her one last time, nodding. Take care, Emily. And with that, I walked away, ready to start the next chapter of my life. For good this time.